Good morning. This is Mr. Melendez, and I'll be performing a read aloud of the document, the Missouri Compromise 1820. So, in the directions, it states that you need to read and analyze the document below, and once your analysis is complete, answer the questions below based on the document. All right, so let's begin the read aloud. Slavery spreads to the South and West. The debate over slavery grew more and more bitter. Increasingly, it set the North and the South against one another. People began to fear that the United States might split apart. Settlers poured over the Appalachian Mountains during the early 1800s. Some began farms near the Mississippi River. Others crossed the river and settled in the plains. Cheap land drew thousands of people from the North and the South. Many Southerners took their slaves to the West. Northerners were against slavery in the West. Slave country. To Southern slave owners, most of the Western lands were good slave country. The lands from the Gulf of Mexico to present-day Missouri was just right for plantation farming. The climate was warm and humid, perfect for cotton. Slave owners began growing cotton. Enslaved African Americans did the backbreaking work. Slave owners were moving west for the same reasons as northern farmers. After years of use, the lands in the east were wearing out. New lands were richer. Plus, new lands were cheaper. Slave states and free states. Slavery in the West raised an important issue. The issue concerned the balance of power between the North and the South. In 1819, there were 22 states in the United States. 11 were slave states that allowed slavery. 11 were free states, states that didn't allow slavery. The slave states were located in the South. The free states were located in the North. Southern slave owners wanted the Western territories to allow slavery. Then the territories could be organized into slave states. New slave states would mean more support in Congress for the goals of the South. Slave owners feared that without such support, the free states would become too powerful. Missouri applied to be the 23rd state in 1819. The settlers of Missouri wanted to make it a slave state. Northerners objected. Missouri would be the first slave state west of the Mississippi River. Northerners wanted to stop slavery at the Mississippi. Most Northerners did not want to end slavery where it already existed. They were only against the spread of slavery to new areas. Southerners, however, believed that they had a right to own slaves anywhere. The Missouri Compromise. After months of debating, Senator Henry Clay of Kentucky worked out a compromise. Clay's agreement was called the Missouri Compromise of 1820. It had two main parts. First, the two new states entered the Union. As the South wanted, Missouri became a slave state. Maine, which had been part of Massachusetts, entered as a free state. The balance between free and slave states remained. The second part of the compromise dealt with slavery in the rest of the Louisiana Purchase. Congress grew an imaginary line running westward from Missouri's southern border. North of that line, Congress forbade slavery completely, except in Missouri. Many hoped that the Missouri Compromise would settle the question of slavery in the territories. They would be sadly disappointed. Now that I have read the document, let's go ahead and let's take a look at the questions. Question number 1. Why did slave owners consider Missouri to be a slave country? Question number 2. In your own words, what was the Missouri Compromise? Questions 3 and 4 are based on the map, so study the map closely as you answer these questions. Question number 3. According to the map, what was the status of Michigan in 1820? And question number 4. According to the map, which two states were admitted as a result of the Missouri Compromise? Ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of the read aloud. I hope you enjoyed it. This is Mr. Melendez. I am signing out. Have a good day.